Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 18, The Need for a Spiritual and Cultural Transformation. Dr. Rao, thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, it'd be great to start with your opening quote by Carl Sagan.
Yeah, Carl Sagan's quote. He said, "Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality." And so what I get from that quote is that when you pursue truth through science, you eventually begin to see that it aligns with the eternal truths the ancient wisdom keepers have been telling us. You come to the same truth, no matter which way you arrive at it. So science becomes a profound source of spirituality because you begin to see the perfection of the system design that's nature.
Very beautiful. So at the beginning of chapter 18, you state that animal husbandry is not only the leading cause of climate change, but biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. So Dr. Rao, why are we still talking about fossil fuels then?
Well, that's where I use Gus Speth's quote, right? Gus Speth was saying that if you ask scientists, please solve these problems, they could have done it. We could have done it, a long time ago. So he said, I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address these problems. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. Right? Now, Gus Speth is one of the top environmentalists in America. He was the founder of the Natural Resources Defense Council, and he was the Dean of Environmental Studies at Yale University. So he knows what he's talking about, and I'm saying those three problems that he stated were the three problems that the UN identified in 1992 at the Rio Summit. Climate change was actually the third problem. The first was loss of biodiversity. The second was the ecosystems collapse, meaning desertification. So they formed three conventions: the Convention on Biological Diversity, the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. So that was the third one, right? Now, initially, they were all meeting every year. And then I think in 1995 or 1996, they decided they're going to de-emphasize biodiversity loss and ecosystems collapse. And those are going to meet only once every 2 years. And climate change, we're going to continue meeting every year. So this is why it's COP31 for climate change. That's going to happen in Turkey this year. And it's COP16 for biodiversity loss, COP16 for desertification, UNCCD. And so why did they get de-emphasized? Because there it is very obvious that animal husbandry is the leading cause. You cannot argue against that. It's only in climate change you can kind of massage the data and make it look like fossil fuels. And that's what they were doing. It was just an elaborate deception, so to speak, because the entire system is based on deception. How do I persuade someone to buy my story and therefore buy what I'm selling? That's the kind of system that we have created. And this is why it has to be a cultural transformation. We have to change how we deal with each other. No more of this deception. We are trying to solve common problems. You cannot have deception as the one that's running it, And
All right.
And, once you realize that animal agriculture is the leading cause of all three of these problems, then it's a personal transformation that needs to happen, right? We have to stop eating animals. And we have to do that, we have to understand that we really don't need to eat animals.
Right.
Anything, okay? There also we were deceived into thinking you need to eat animals.
Right, which goes into the foundational myths.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk about a spiritual and cultural transformation, it has to come from the people themselves and the people demanding that the system change to meet their new needs, right?
Right. Right. And that was actually my next question. So in chapter 18, you state that the spiritual and cultural transformation must come from the people themselves.
Yeah.
So could you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, people have to want to do this themselves. It cannot be imposed on people. You cannot go around saying, you're not going to become a Buddha. It's not through force you make people change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. System driven by fear is driven by laws and prescriptions. You cannot do something. You have to stay in this lane. So they give you all these rules. But a system based on love is based on freedom. Love always comes with a choice. So you have the freedom to choose. And so you have to tell people, this is the truth is you don't need to eat this. You'll be perfectly fine without eating it. And by eating it, you're causing global hunger. By eating it, you're causing the planet to die. Do you still want to eat it? Now, I'm not going to help you go kill the animal for you, right? That's up to you if you want to do that. But again, right now, we are in a system that kills the animal for people, right? So, and to have a system like that, you have to create hunger. Otherwise, no one wants to go and be the guy who goes and kills animals for food.
Right.
So you have to make them hungry in order to make them work in slaughterhouses. So the entire system is based on this myth that you have to eat animals in order to survive.
All right.
Right? Yeah.
How does fear propel this planet A system and these myths?
Fear, you begin by saying that you don't belong unless we tell you that you belong. And how do we tell you that you belong? Well, if you do something that we like, we'll give you some money. That allows you the help of others. Otherwise, you're saying if you don't have any money, you're totally dependent on others. And who's going to help you if you don't pay them? So everything is built on transactions in a system where by default, you don't have any money.
All right.
So by default, making sure that no one has money and then they have to depend on a social safety net that is not reliable, forces people to follow the rules and to stay in their lane, to go obey those who have money, right? You obey those who have money. And that's the fear. So the fear is created systematically with the money system that we have created, right? Now, this is a money system that we inherited. It's not something that we designed, in this generation. We inherited it, and our parents inherited it from their parents, who inherited it from their parents. So if you go back, you realize someone cooked this up in order to maintain their power, right? And it got propagated because there are those in power who wanted to maintain their power.
Yep.
So you have a system where there are billionaires, right, or millionaires, and those who have lots and lots of money, and who can pretty much say, I want this to happen, and it should happen to them, right? Even if it means bending the law. So this is why I wasn't surprised by when I found out that billionaires were going and exploiting little girls.
Yeah.
Because that's their fantasy, and they want to go and say, I have billions of dollars, so why can't I fulfill my fantasy, right?
All right.
And that's the kind of abuse that happens. And in a system in which we are routinely abusing the children of other species, we should expect our billionaires to start abusing the children of our own species.
All right. So, Dr. Rao, do you feel that animal husbandry and the consumption of animals is at the core of this self-propagating fear that is created in the Planet A systems?
Correct. It's one of the foundational fears that drives all the other fears, because you see it's an exploitative system, and as human beings we look at animals and who are being exploited terribly and say, at least I'm better off than them. And we are taught that you need to exploit animals in order to get an essential macronutrient in your diet. And a lot of people believe that. So 90% of Americans in a survey believe that you have to eat animals in order to get protein. Without it, you're going to wither away and die, right? So this is why it's important for us as vegans to be healthy, to be a shining example of health. So we can bust that myth by example.
All right.
But fear drives the system, making sure that you don't get any money unless you do what the master wants. Anyone with a lot of money is a master, right? They're going to say, I want this, come and deliver it to me, and I'll give you money for that. So that's how it's a very transactional system that we have created, okay, in which it's driven by fear. People work because otherwise they may not be able to eat. And again, that hunger is manufactured hunger. There is plenty of food on the planet.
Right.
But that food is being initially fed to animals so that we create an artificial scarcity from a natural abundance. Right? And so by persuading people to eat animals, you're constantly creating that artificial scarcity. So there is plenty of hunger at the bottom always. So that you have plenty of workers who would do all the jobs that no one would do otherwise, like slaughterhouse work or mining, things like that no one would do. You have to understand the history of this, because when the Industrial Revolution started in the 16th century, and India was part of the British Empire, okay, people in India did not pay for food. Food was always free because it was growing everywhere. Why would you pay for something that's growing everywhere? Right?
Yeah.
It's an abundance. And therefore, what the colonizers found out is that it's impossible to make Indians work for things. So you had to create an artificial scarcity to begin with. So that's when they instituted these collectors in districts. So they divided up the country into districts, and they are district collectors who would go and collect grain from people, from farmers. So they would tax villages in the same grain, collect the grain, put it in trains, and take it and store it in warehouses. So they started controlling the food.
Wow.
And only then they could get the people to work. So they got Indians to migrate all over the place, right? So this is how Indians got to be in Fiji, in West Indies, in South Africa. All of that was to do work for labor. And it was through hunger, through deliberate hunger. So we have records now from when the English East India Company gave away their control to the British government, to the British Crown. Then the British Parliament kept records. And in those records, we know that there were 25 famines between 1857 and 1947, in 90 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
And over 60 million Indians died of hunger in those days. okay, during those famines. Now that's about 750,000 people dying of hunger in India alone per year on average. Today, 9 million people die of hunger-related causes worldwide. So it is the same system. It's just disguised through animal agriculture. Animal agriculture is the means by which scarcity is created on the planet. Okay? And
So bizarre.
it is. It's actually very systemic, right? So I look at it as a system. So this is how the system induces labor. Okay, it forces you to get up and say, I have to work.
Right.
Right? Because otherwise you could say, I want to paint. Or I want to sing. I want to dance. Because I have plenty to eat.
Maybe even take a nap.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. But then you're not serving the master, right? So that's the problem that the master faces.
Yeah. And this goes right into the next question. So in chapter 18, you state that systems based on fear are dictated from the top down, but systems based on love are originated from the bottom up through conscious choices.
Correct.
So could you just share a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, system based on fear, they have to force you to do things, because otherwise, it's obviously, if there is fear in the system, you're inducing fear in the system, then there are a lot of people who are doing things that they would not want to do otherwise, right? That's why there is fear, because you have to force people to do things. Yeah. A system based on love is from the bottom up, where people know that they're secure, but they have to volunteer to do something. And why would they do something? Because it needs to be done. There's a necessity for something to happen. Okay? And you then ask people, would you like to help with this? Would you like to help with this? Because we know it needs to get done. If it doesn't get done, the community suffers. Right. So there is it's a love-based motivation, because I want to help the community, and that's why I want to do something. Right. As opposed to, because if it was, I have to do this in order to help this one guy, not just help, just to pamper him, no one would do it, right? No one would do that.
No.
This is why
I don't think I would.
They create a system of fear.
Right.
Those with power try to create a system of fear so that they maintain their power and they maintain and this is where they're always lacking something, because they need it. They feel that need, right? And so that's the fear that's taken to the extreme. So you have to somehow convince them, come along, nothing is going to happen to you. You'll be fine in a love-based system that we are creating.
So how does this spiritual and cultural transformation happen from a systems perspective? Because even today we talked a lot about how this Planet A is a fear-driven approach, and what does this bottom-up culture of love look like on Planet B?
So we have to create a system around volunteerism. So I've seen smaller examples of this where people say, I go to Sadhana Forest, where Olga walks around with a pad and says, this needs to get done this week, and who's going to volunteer? And people raise their hands, and she gets enough volunteers every time, right? And things get done. Okay, you see that happening at a small scale like that. Now, how do you now formalize it and create a system in which volunteerism gets things done for the community? So you imagine a bulletin board on your phone, an app that says you belong to this one community, and these are the things that need to get done, and so many people are volunteered to do this, so many people are volunteered to do this, but there is a lack here. Right. So you would choose to go and say, okay, I want to volunteer for that. And if the community has lots of tasks not getting done, that community is not functioning well. Right? In a community that functions well, everything gets done, and everyone agrees that these are the tasks that need to get done.
Right.
Right. So you have to create a participatory governance system, and you have to create this formal system for volunteerism. Right. And making sure that, so all the systems have to transform. So the food system has to be, it's not about I'm going to make you hungry unless you do what I tell you, which is what the Planet A is based on. Right. I mean, just think, it's been going on for hundreds of years and it's almost invisible to us.
Yeah.
That hunger is used as the means to drive labor in the system.
Yeah. Do you see this? So on Planet A, all of the structures are very like hierarchical, where we are in a way, as you said, like serving the master. Do you see on Planet B it having this hierarchical structure, or is it more level?
It's much more flattened out, is what I see. Because basically, a hierarchical structure is how you systematize selfishness, greed, and apathy.
Right.
Okay. So you have to now create a structure for systematizing selflessness, generosity, and activism.
That's
the
beautiful.
Opposite of the three. Right. And we have to, experiment with that, because remember, this system that we have today was built over hundreds of years, or maybe even thousands of years. Okay. So it's honed itself, it knows how to force people to do things.
Right.
And so we have to now start experimenting and creating these new systems. But, you can pretty much understand it's a game we are playing. Right? So I see the currency system as part of the game we are playing. And it's a game that drives this.
Right.
Right. So it's like Monopoly, right? Once you play Monopoly, and at the end there's one person who has all the money. And then what do you do?
Everyone else is broke.
Everybody's broke. And everybody becomes the servant of that person who has the money. Right.
Right.
So that's where this Planet A system is headed towards. Right. As inequality keeps increasing, that's where it's headed.
Right. And it's a wonderful segue into in this chapter you talk about how on the Planet A systems, selfishness and greed are handsomely rewarded, and that reward is usually financial. And that's where this hierarchical structure kind of keeps going, really. What actions would be rewarded within the Planet B system, and how would they be rewarded?
Well, it will be selflessness and generosity that gets rewarded. And basically it's rewarded in the sense that you get to deploy more of the resources for the well-being of others, more of the community resources. Or it's, or you get promoted to be on a council that does that, that allocation, right? So we have to sort of think about how do you create systems in which those who are trusted, who really have the well-being of everyone, who are well along on that journey, have more resources to help others, to help everyone. And no one is left behind. So there has to be a universal basic income so that everyone feels secure. So this is ensuring that no one is inside the hole of the donut.
Right.
And I say go back to the food system that used to be there in India, for instance, where no one paid for food. And it was all healthy, whole foods, because whatever was growing in the trees you could eat, right? So healthy, whole foods were already available for everyone. The food system fundamentally codes the culture of our civilization. If the food system is built on cruelty to animals, built on hunger for human beings, and so on, that's the culture of your civilization. If the food system is based on generosity, you're giving it away, and it's all healthy foods. No one is conning you into eating things that make you sick because they're making money off of you, right?
Right.
So you are now creating a new culture in the food system itself. So I say, this is why I've been promoting food healers, saying we need to make sure that healthy food is free to everybody. And
Right.
I've been calling on temples and churches to come together and make that happen. Like the Hare Krishna movement, where Swami Prabhupada started that. He said, I think within a few kilometers of every Hare Krishna temple, no one should be hungry. Right? That was his. This is why they give out free food. The only thing I would add to that is make it healthy. Make it a whole food plant-based meal.
All right. Could you talk a little bit about food healers, about that program?
Yeah, the whole idea of food healers was to create an app where you can say, I'm going to serve food on this day, and anyone can join the app and say, I want to start an event where it's serve food on this day. And anyone can come and eat that food for free. So I was expecting churches and temples to use that app so that people know where to go to get healthy food.
All right.
No matter where you are, right? Because people should not be deprived of healthy food. That's how the current system works. We want to create a system that is good for everybody. We have to create a food system in which healthy food is given away.
Yeah.
By default. Okay. Now, there are a lot of temples, like recently there was a temple in Ayodhya, and the government passed a rule saying within a 15-kilometer radius of that temple, no one is allowed to eat meat and fish and eggs. Only vegetarian is allowed, meaning dairy is allowed, but not meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a ban. They put a ban on the sale of food items in a 15-kilometer radius of the temple. So that's a Planet A style approach of trying to impose something. I said instead, the temple should be offering free, healthy vegan food within the 15-kilometer radius.
All right.
How do you do that? Well, you cook food in the temple, you cook food and you serve it away in community centers within the 15-kilometer radius. Right? And you say it comes from the temple, from those who have been donating to the temple. The temple gets a lot of donations. And rather than using it to buy gold jewelry for the gods, I say, please just buy food and cook food and give it away, right?
All right.
That would please God more than having jewelry put on a statue.
Amen. So true. Yeah. So, Dr. Rao, so as we wrap up this episode, could you share some of the other projects that Climate Healers is working on that are bringing forth this spiritual and cultural transformation that we would like to implement on Planet B?
Yeah, there are several initiatives that need to happen within the system transformation. One is, of course, the food system has to be transformed, the education system has to be transformed, the economic system has to be transformed, the currency system has to be transformed. It's everything. It's a whole system transformation that needs to happen. The purpose of humanity needs to be transformed. So we'll go into that in each of the next few chapters. I'm going to be talking about the values that need to be transformed. Again, the values come from the game we are playing. So the money game becomes the most important game that we need to transform. And so we are working on all aspects of this because, and this is why I'm really busy, But again, we need a lot of expert help in each of these. I know what needs to be done, so I can say these are the things that need to be done. But in each of the areas, I need experts to come along and help, right? Or it could be AI that becomes the expert now, right? To help out. Yeah. Because we need to do a complete revision of the curriculum in engineering colleges. Because to me, it's human engineered systems that are in conflict with the life support systems, right? And these are human engineered systems. So which means you have to re-engineer all the human systems to be in alignment with the life support systems. This is not a nice to have. It's absolutely essential for us to live on this planet. Okay?
It's the greatest transformation in human history.
Correct. And it's an engineering transformation. It's primarily an engineering transformation. And so I'm trying to get my engineering colleagues to understand that, that there's a lot that needs to change in our profession.
It is a wonderful time to be alive, and we're moving into Planet B, and we encourage everyone to come and help out. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome, Dr. Rao. So as we wrap up episode 18, is there any final message you'd like to share with our audience today? Hold
on and come along with us for the ride. Okay, it's going to be exhilarating.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Next episode 19, and the title is From Climate Heating to Climate Healing. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where stewardship means care, not control. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.